that was awesome. That was awesome. Anything else? Anything y'all been coming across in your studies?
Yeah, like me and Brandon was just talking about it. Like we never noticed until recently that you can add, I guess you can add you add frankincense to like fried foods.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
I was like, man, we got to see what that smell like.
yeah. I don't think we can get to no real stuff over the closest one. You if you find some authentic East Muslims, like there's a Muslim store I found over here on this side of Greensboro. I get my I go get my figs from. He sell kufis. He got a butcher shop, and he does import stuff from Turkey. But I don't know if it will be if it's not from overseas. I don't know if it'd be the real deal. But yeah, our a lot of our sacrifices, he said to put frankincense on it. On it. Yeah, all praises.
Yeah, thought that was interesting. Um, Other than that, the only stuff I've been studying so far this week was like the stuff I sent you. Um, we'll talk about that, I guess, when you finish watching it.
I did. I watched
Uh,
the whole. I did watch the whole first one. The brother was breaking down, and I made a lot of highlights, not to try to cut him, just because again I'm if someone's presenting something, I'm going to take a look at it, and if there's enough evidence, I'm going to overturn what I'm practicing or what I'm putting out. But it just um, a lot of his points he made. He made one great point that I liked. I never heard it broke down like that, but it still fell short. So the one thing he did bring out, he says, when we go back to Genesis 1, that he made two great lights, and the moon is a great light, which he's right, but the greater light was the sun. And he says, being that the moon is a great light and it's supposed to rule the night, that it has to be the full moon because that's the only moon that rules the night. And I was like, wow,
yeah, I marked that like that. That's why I was taking notes, cause I was gonna ask you about
yeah.
like that stuff like that.
And they they brought some Greek methodology and learning tools into the class. He says, you got to use deductive reasoning. And I heard these terms before. I know Murray Walt been around deductive reasoning and exegeting stuff. And it's like if the moon is the full moon, and these are the I study by asking myself questions. Like if you see my notebook, I put anybody's position into a question format. Even myself, I put it in a question format, and that's how I start my research. So he says, being that Genesis says that the moon rules the night and the crescent don't rule the night, because on certain months, as y'all start to watch the sky, and I'm even thinking about getting a cheap telescope. On certain months, her first night, she'll come out, and if you're not there that first hour, she goes back in, or she disappears. And I know you guys haven't had children yet, but me and Moray, we're a little bit seasoned men, and that's what a baby does. Sometimes during labor, and you get excited, like, oh man, they almost here, oh my goodness, and that baby got his own mind, so they call it crowning. The baby head come out the woman, and it looks just like a sliver. You'll see the crown of your baby's head, and because the shape of the woman's body, it looks like a new moon, and it's called crowning because the baby will stay there. And I like to make fun. I said he done heard the noises. He's like, I'm going back inside. I ain't coming out of there. So some months the moon does that. That first night she'll come out, and if you're not there to see her, she'll disappear, and you'll think you missed a new moon. But just that night, she crowned and went back in. So because of that reason, he says it can't be the crescent because that's not ruling the night. He says, and of course he just rejected the dark moon because there's nothing to see, of course I agree with that. But he says it has to be the full moon because that's the only moon that rules the night. And I'm like, wow. And he didn't give any. Of course, he said that he conceded, and I conceded too. We have no scriptural references saying that the new crescent is the new moon. We have no explicit, what I call a concrete verse. So he did say that too. But when he said it has to be the full moon, he didn't have any precepts, nor did he have any historical research by any ancients, and I mean righteous ancients. And what I'm finding, and you said it last week, they're referencing Enoch, but then just cherry picking what they reference. Because Enoch tells you, I think it was in chapter 74, that when she comes, she's a seventh of her light. And then he continues to tell you that she gets her maximum glory in 14 days. So it's like, you can't be selective with your research and with your breakdown. You're referencing Enoch, but then you totally disregard that he gives you that it takes her 14 days to reach her glory. And then the question I wrote in my notepad, he says, well, the full moon has to be the new moon because that's when it's ruling the night. It's so big, it's ruling the night. And I'm of course I'm at work, I got my music playing, but my brain is going. So I says, with that logic, on a cloudy day, the sun can't be seen. So is the sun not ruling the day because it's cloudy? No. Just because you don't see the sun, it's up there and it's still the ruler of the day. So the nights that the moon is a crescent, and that word rule, the Hebrew word for rule that they translate as rule is dominion. Dominion, again, we got to check the context. We got to keep it in context. Dominion means a domain, my authority, my realm. So even the nights that she's just a slither and she's growing, she still rules the heavens for the night. That's her domain. So that breakdown was like, I was like, he didn't put too much scholarship into that. Couple other things he said. He was holding on to the 365 days, and he says the example he gave him. He says Enoch says it's 364, but then you got the secrets of Enoch that says it's 365. So which one is it? And that's why I tell you brothers, when you get these pseudepigraphers, and I just ordered a new one today for Jubilees, you got to check the translator, you got to check the publisher, you got to check all these things because do they have an agenda? So the Jubilees I got is the one translated by R.H. Charles, the sun worshiper, the Catholic. I ordered one today by that guy, George School, that one who got the parallel Enoch. So he also has a version of Jubilees I just ordered today. So that's on the way. And I want to compare it to how the sun worshipers change things. Now, with him saying that a year is 365 days, and he says, just do it, just count it. If you go from March 20th to March 20th, it's 365 days. So you got empirical witness that a year is 365 days.
Yeah, they say 365.25.
0.25. So when you start using these big Greek words, empirical, people who are not learned and well read, like most of our people, we've been, stuck in captivity, hustling, shopping, and partying it up. You start using words like empirical, you sound educated, this brother's. But if you trace March 20th of 2021 to March 20th of 2022, all you did was trace the Gregorian calendar. We don't have 31 days in our month. So his point was like kind of mute to me. Like you just told me to trace the Gregorian calendar that's based on Babylonian math to prove that a year is 365 days. But you can hear the crowds like, yeah. It's like, no, that's why I tell y'all, if you don't see it, don't say con. If you ain't verified it yet, don't repeat it. But they was in there eating it up. It's like he just gave you a Babylonian system the Gregorian system is based on Babylonian math. There's never 365 days in the Most High's calendar. And so those are just little things that I you'll pick up these skills as you continue to build. Like it's like, when you're in a crowd, it's kind of hard to go against the grain if you see everyone's like flocking to it. And remember in school when everyone seemed to be getting it and you in the back struggling, not getting it, but you don't want to tell the teacher that you ain't getting it. That's what happened in these congregations. And I don't want y'all to ever feel like that with us. If you ain't getting it, or if you ain't verified it yet, don't say con and raise your hand. And if we got to keep going over and over and over it, and if I got to find like concrete witnesses, that's what we'll do. But those people in that class are just like eating it up. It's like you're not even vetting what he's saying. What else was a big one? Let me pull my notebook out while I got it.
Yeah, that's called conformity, you know.
Yeah.
And then a lot of it is they just, you know, we don't know any better. So
Yeah.
they just going along with it, especially if it's new information. See, now for me, it's not totally new information. That's why I said what I'm seeing it, I'm writing it down.
Yeah.
So I can have some things to compare, continue to, you know, talk about. But I wasn't convinced because I'm like, some of you had kind of said, you know, like, because at first the 365 days, I was like, well, yeah, if you do count it, then it'll come out that way. But our counting system is based on what they gave us. So that's one thing. And then I was thinking like, well, about what you said about how we read in Enoch, it tells you how the moon, like, see it from both sides. If it's saying the moon is coming in, but it's not full till 14 days. Okay, so are you saying, so you're saying the full moon is the first of the month, then how do you count like the rest of the days?
Yeah.
So I was just thinking about like different like little things like that. And then too, they were talking one thing, you know, they was out, you know, they go off the equinox, right? Basically, and I know you got it now. You saw the first one. The first one does give a good, and then the last one, brother Ron himself is explaining it in the format as well. But you going off the vernal equinox, and I'm trying to find like it's no scripture about that though, or I don't think that it is.
I had that marked down too, because when you go back to, he mentioned about when Yah was resetting our time, and that's also misleading because Yah wasn't resetting our time with Moses. Moses is like, I can't think of more right. What generation would Moses be like? Like the 10th from Moses. Moses wasn't getting nothing new. The Most High was reestablishing what he had set up with Adam. I would remember Moses had went on a run from Egypt for 40 years. Now, you and I'm barely over 40 years old. And I think of how much hell I done got into from the age of what, like 17 to 30 something. Moses was gone on a run for 40 years. Imagine how, and then our patriarchs started dying off. Imagine how much Egyptian practices those people sucked up in those 40 years. So the Christian thought, and again, these brothers may get slighted, but a lot of the brothers are still pushing Christian like points or beliefs, thinking that we got a whole new system with Moses. No, the Most High was just giving Moses what Noah got, what Enoch got, what Adam got. So it wasn't nothing new. He wasn't starting nothing new. He was like, it's time to clean my people back up and shake off this Egyptian stuff y'all done adopted. So one point he said that the sun and the moon works together. But then he starts saying that there's two calendars, a solar and a lunar. So I'm like, you're contradicting yourself. If you're saying that the moon and the sun work together, but you're saying the solar year and a lunar year, we don't have a lunar year. We don't have a solar year. It's a tandem. So, and you heard him repeat that a lunar year is 354 days and it's short. And we went over this last week. Our year is 360, and then we got those 4 days, those intercalary days that are seen like sort of like overlapping when we having changes in the year. So those little things I caught that he was like really not addressing. The biggest thing about that new moon thing, remember, I think I haven't gave you guys a copy. I want to get a poster made of the plumb line. And the plumb line is something the Most High dropped in my spirit, because all of us could come up with different doctrines for everything, and it could sound logical. You can get resources to try to support your position, but the Most High's way, you got to have 2 or more witnesses, because no scripture is open for private interpretation. So you got to have 2 or more witnesses. Did any of the prophets say it? The Messiah say it? Can we find it being practiced in the ancient, for me, pre-exilic? Can we find this being practiced before we were exiled? So when he says about the new moon, I says, well, we got so many resources that the Sanhedrin would send people out to look for the new crescent. And we got resources, secular, when I say secular, I mean non-Hebrew sources that verify that the Samaritans and the other tribes who hated us, they would start putting off fake smoke signals to throw us off. So why would the Sanhedrin have to send out people? And then they had a whole interrogation process to make sure they wasn't lying. Why would they have to have this process if a new moon, if a full moon was a new moon? Everyone in the world could see it. Everyone in the world could see a new moon, I mean a full moon. So it's like, do you have any ancient witnesses that say the full moon is a new moon? And then you have to tell me, why would the Sanhedrin month after month send somebody to a mountain to look for a full moon? And I don't want to laugh at them, because Barak Yah, we're trying to restore the ancient landmarks. But when we got resource after resource that tell you every new moon, like the 29th of the month, like this Friday for us is going to be the 29th. This Friday, not even in the evening, because there's some texts that say if the atmosphere is right, sometimes you can see the crescent before noon. So this Friday is the 29th of our 12th month, right? We're going into our new year on Friday or Saturday. So Friday morning, the Sanhedrin would send their watchers out to different mountain points, and they would start looking for the new moon at sunrise. And these men would stay up there until they seen that crescent. And when they seen it, they would do a smoke signal, they would sound a trumpet, and then they would come back and report to the Sanhedrin. And the Sanhedrin would interrogate them. What position was it in? Meaning, like, what the sickles, the points, was it 1 o'clock and 5? Was it 9 o'clock and 3? Was it in the east sky? Was it in the west? If it wasn't in the west, they know that it wasn't a new crescent, because the new crescent, based on empirical data over the years, the new crescent comes in the west sky. So when he tells me that the full moon is the new moon, why would they go through all this process to locate a full moon when you can see a full moon from hell? Like, you know what I mean? So there's stuff like that you got to pay attention to.
What do you think about when they were saying if the crescent is on the other side, depending on what hemisphere you're on?
Yeah, for us, we ain't supposed to be nowhere but Jerusalem. We ain't supposed to be nowhere but Jerusalem. So that whole argument to me was mute. And then we got records from the ancestors in Spain for as long as they could, they would wait to hear from Jerusalem if the new moon had been consecrated. But that's that resource we went over a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if you remember that it became too hard to wait. So the elders in the diaspora, in exile, they would celebrate 2 days to make sure they were in line with Jerusalem. So it's stuff like that. Like you got to bring out some ancient witnesses, and they got to be righteous Israelites. To me, they got to be Karites, because if they rabbinical, I don't respect the rabbinical's authority in their decision, because they violated Torah over and over. And that's where you get the 13 months from. The 13 months came from rabbinic Jews. And the Karites was always arguing with them, like, we're not following those. If you follow the rabbis, you were known as a rabbinite. So the rabbinites and the Karites were always at odds. The Karites were saying, We're not following none of that oral stuff that y'all written down. We're sticking what Moses got. And that's why I call myself a messianic Karaite. If you can't find it for me in the scrolls, and you can't show me it being practiced, like the 13th month. When we get to Purim, it says Adar. It doesn't reference that this is Adar 1. It doesn't reference that this is second Adar. So the fact that the writer doesn't tell you or doesn't even allude to it, it could be a second Adar, for me, bells going off. And then when we get to David, when David set up the order of his priesthood, there were 24 orders of the priests. They were coming in every month, and he stops at the 12th month. He never says, and if it's a possible 13th month, then Murray Walt's going to come in. So you gotta show you. Well, you should ask people to show you their position being practiced, and we can't find that 13th month being practiced pre-exilic or even post-exilic by righteous Israelites, because we could take them all the way to the end of the book in Revelations, the last chapter. Matter of fact, let's read it. I'm doing too much talking. Let's go to Revelations. Murray, you got your scroll with you, Murray? Let's go to Revelations 24 verses.
I'm sorry, I heard 20 in what verse?
I think the first 4.
Okay. Let me know when you all are ready, or I can begin.
Shema, when you have it, family?
Good.
My.
All right. Revelations 20, starting at verse 1. And I saw an angel come down from heaven.
No, 22 and 1.
I'm sorry, I thought I heard 20. 22. And he showed me a pure river of water of life, clear as a crystal, proceeding out of the throne of Yah and of the Lamb. In the midst of the street of it, and on either side of the river, was there the tree of life, which bare 12 manner of fruits, and yielded her fruit every month. And the leaves.
That's all we need to opt.
Yeah.
So this is a future. You know, this is when we get back to the garden with Hamashiach, and when we get back to the garden, there's going to be 12 manner, 2 trees bearing 12 manner of fruit every month. No allusion to a 13th month, and this is the future. So I've been doing it, and again, keep sending me everyone's breakdown, because again, if I find enough witnesses, I want to be back on track with the pre-exilic practices of our ancestors. But we see even in the future, there's no alluding to a 13th month.
Yeah, and they don't even talk like that. It's not even their position at all. I'm pretty good on the 13th month. I've seen enough text and script and the way things work. I'm good on that.
I heard him say that. I heard him say some years you got to add days and stuff like that. It's like that's all alluding to that 13th month doctrine, like adding days, like you're adding to the Most High, and then, like you said, when he says 365.24 days, how do you have a 2 point something day?
Yeah, because the way he was trying to explain it to them was that when you count from even this day to this day next year, that they count in just the early part of the day as the 0.25.
Yeah.
And I was just like, well, I ain't never heard of that before, but I see what he was saying, but again, it's just you going off of this calendar. Now I downloaded that PDF, and I saw it in there, but I didn't go through and look at who the publisher was or try to verify the book yet of the secrets of the book of Enoch. I don't even know what that is. I just looked at it for the sake of, that they had mentioned it.
It's like it's commentary and it's pseudo. It's debatable. It's again, what people do, or what these Jesuits, I'm blaming Jesuits. The Jesuits, they took a lot of our records, and once they learned what they were saying, they started hiring and translating stuff and muddying up stuff. So it was easy to say, see, that didn't happen. This is non-canonical. and then you miss so much that is validated, and that's why you got to learn how to chew the meat, spit the bones, because like we're finding now, there's stuff inside the KJV that don't make sense, and that's wrong.
It's
But
a
y'all
lot
still
of things like
they
that.
still use the KJV. So my practice, what I've adopted over the years, when I read those pseudepigraphers, of course we always praying and meditate and asking Yah to give us the truth, and I hold it against the Torah. And then as you learn the culture, you'll be the Ruach will tell you something real quick, like that don't make sense, something ain't jiving right. Like, and that'll be the Ruach pricking you, like this ain't sounding right. This ain't sounding right. Like for me, I think me and Gina, we practiced 13 months for like maybe a year or two, and it never sat right with me. But again, I gave the elder the benefit of the doubt, but I still kept taking my notes. I still
You get to that video at the end. He
okay.
when Divine is up there talking, he gives like Genesis 1, Job, Psalms, Abib, Exodus, Kings. So that's why I said when you get to the end, you'll see. But my biggest issues with it, and like I said, you'll see all of it, and you'll enjoy the debate too. I think because the guy that he was debating against was a Enoch lunar, but it was the one that follows the 13th month. So I was just like, y'all don't be reading. A lot of people getting hung up where I was telling you that I was focused on those 6 days of the sun and the intercalary days. A lot of people, what I'm from just hearing their debates, the people that do say they follow Enoch still don't follow it to what he was saying. So that's what I'm seeing. And then the last video, the next two videos are like 10 minutes and they're talking about the moon phase, right? Okay. And then the third video is, the fourth video is a debate between Ron's position and some guys who follow Enoch based on the moon. But when I was listening to them talk, they was telling you the reasons why. But the thing is funny because they even mentioned in that video about them sending smoke signals and all that. And I know you are better adapt to like those cultural things than I am. I feel like it's a good team when we both watch this stuff like that, because you already said some stuff that they were mentioning. And he mentioned that
I'm gonna finish up tomorrow.
Yeah, it's no rush. You doing like a gazillion things. That's why it's no rush at all. But he talks about that. Ron talks about that it's a group of people who are living outside of the land, and that's kind of what you were talking about, people who were living. And he said that you gonna kill it when you see it, because it's kind of a little bit beyond me. But he was saying that I can't forget what they were called, but he said they were living and using the Enoch calendar, and they're the same people, but they stopped using it because it wasn't working. So I was just like, that sounds so weird. Like you'll see it. And he said that, that like he was studying it because he said before he was using the Enoch calendar. But I'm like, man, I think a lot of people are using that calendar that he's saying wrong, from my position. Because the biggest questions I had is like, they're saying the first equinox in the spring, the first full moon after that is when you start counting the 14 days to Abib, and then you just go from there. That's pretty much how they're saying and that's why we was asking, like I was telling you, I thought they were going off the Shabbat, like GOCC type thing. And I was like, well, because their feast days was so late. It was like in April. Remember I was saying that?
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. And I was saying I didn't know what they were using, but that's what they're using. The quote unquote first equinox that around March the 20th or something. And I'm like, what made you come up with that?
Yeah, I heard him say that, and I also heard him say we don't use. I don't mean to laugh. I shouldn't laugh, but he was saying that you use the lunar for the feast, but not for the Shabbat. I'm like,
remember I was telling you that too. I told you that too. They said the moon was only for the feast days, but not the days that you count and the Shabbat. So I was just like, well, that's why I told you I'm listening to it, but it didn't. Yeah. It's a good theory. I can see why people follow it, but for me, I was like, it's still a lot of holes in there. Like it didn't make sense
Yeah.
to me when I was living.
We're gonna do the full breakdown for second Pesach. First Pesach is going, like I said, it's probably gonna fall like February 27th or 28th maybe. But second Pesach, I'm gonna dedicate the whole second Pesach of addressing and not for debate, just for scholarship and reclaiming our landmarks, because like we brought out, I don't know if you guys were around. I don't think you was with us when we brought out that precept in the Septuagint that we're going to be redeemed during Passover season.
Yeah, we were. Yeah,
You were? Okay. So second Pesach is going to be dedicated to all these points. I got one reference, and it's written by the Christians, and it's from oh man, I ain't gonna bring it up tonight, but they pretty much, the new emperor wanted some resolve, and they were telling them, like, all the ancient people of Asia, referring to the Israelites, they kept it the 14th day of the moon, regardless of an equinox. Like the vernal equinox, refers to spring. It's just a Latin word for spring. That's another thing I wanted to bring out. Anytime you hear someone talk about spring or fall, their understanding is a little bit short, because we don't have a spring or fall. We have two seasons, winter and summer. Like right now, that's why I sent those screenshots today. Over here in wicked, I call this far wicked Babylon, it was 52 degrees. But over back home in our land, it was 72. We're already going into our early summer. So we got summer and winter. It's just that we have early summer, and we have, the Most High just don't spring it on you like, here it is. He gradually brings us into the seasons. So when he was saying spring and fall, I knew he didn't have all the complete understanding of how we do things. And I will do this before we wrap. I don't know if y'all got time or not, but the one thing I was talking about earlier about our language is when he started mentioning the Feast of Tabernacles, and they used the Yiddish word to kufa, and I'm gonna do the breakdown, because he referenced how tabernacles, it says at the turn of the year, and then he says that the Septuagint even say the middle of the year, and it's because he didn't have the full breakdown of our language. So let me.
You already said something too when you said rules and you said dominion. Like, soon as you said that, that changes the whole thing, because just because it's not, let's say, a full moon, the sun is down, so the dominion or the rulership is given over to the moon at night. It doesn't mean that it has to be like, soon as you said dominion, the whole context changed in my mind. Like, it just means that now I am the authority over this period of time. So it doesn't matter what phase I'm in. It just matters that I am the one that's in charge. And then when I go back into the background, now the sun is again in rulership. So it doesn't have to be a full moon to, quote unquote, rule or have dominion over the night.
Like tonight, so far when I came home, like on my way home, it got dark. I didn't see the moon. So either she's not on my side of town, or some nights, that's what Enoch was talking about, how the sun has more airtime than the moon. So some nights she won't be out, but she still have the meaning of the night. It's still her night. Like that. These are the cultural things that people have to understand when they reading these translations. Like, there's still cultural things that you got to bear in mind. So even if it's a night that the moon won't be seen, she still has dominion of the night. Because like you just beautifully said, if the sun ain't here, one or two, and using his own breakdown, there's two great lights. And of course, we know the sun's not here. If the sun's not here, it has to be the other lesser great light ruling. So that's why I love these discussions, because everyone's brain gets to turning. And I want to that word he Moray, can we go to while I try to get together? Can we go to is it Leviticus? Let's go to Leviticus 23. I think it's like verse 40 when it starts talking about tabernacles. And I'm gonna show you the word that kind of like threw him off because he don't have the language down yet.
So I got my Septuagint. Do you want me to read out that or read it out the King James?
Yeah, we could do that's awesome. We could do both. We could do both.
All right. Now I got a little different Septuagint than most other people. But yeah, you said Leviticus 23, right?
Yeah, Leviticus 23, I think like 38 or 40 starts talking about the 7th month.
Hold on. 15. Let's see.
It's verse 39 in the regular KJV, Maury.
Calm. The water Rabbah. Verse 39, we pick it up there and we'll compare both translations. That'll give me time to get this together, show y'all this thing real quick.
Yeah, it's the same. All right, I'll begin. I'm gonna read the Septuagint first. It says, also in the 15th day of this 7th month, when you have gathered in the fruit of the land, you shall keep the feast to Yah for 7 days. On the first day there shall be a rest, and on the 8th day a rest. And you shall take for yourselves on the first day the ripe fruit of a tree, leaves of palm trees, the branches of leafy trees, and the pure willows of the brook. And you shall rejoice before Yah your Elohim for 7 days. You shall keep it as a feast to Yah for 7 days in the year. It shall be an ordinance forever in your generations. You shall celebrate it in the 7th month. You shall dwell in booths for 7 days. All who are native Israelites shall dwell in booths, that your generations may know that I made the children of Israel dwell in the booths when I brought them out of the land of Mitzrayim. I am Yah, your Elohim. So Moshe declared to the children of Israel the feast of Yah.
Yeah, that definitely. It's the same, but it's just worded different in my Septuagint too.
Yeah.
Well, Ray, can you scan for when he says, I think he repeats it again at the turn of the year? At the turn of the year or something he says?
Okay. All right, so then there's one talking about the first of the year for your sacrifice. Is that what you're referring to? No? Hold on.
He was saying at the turn of the year, I think it's like 40 something. He was like at the turn of the year. Oh. Let me see. Well, go ahead and read it in the KJV. Oh, you said it's the same in the KJV?
Yeah, it's the same.
Okay, let me scan for it real quick.
Turn of the year.
He was saying the Septuagint says the middle of the year. So is Tabernacles actually the middle of our year? And I guess he was rebutting that Rosh Hashanah is the 7th month, which I agree. Rosh Hashanah is not the 7th month. That came from the wicked rabbis. Maybe I'm gonna have to Google it because the phrase in the KJV is like at the turn of the year. Maybe it's over in Deuteronomy. If someone can check that phrase at the turn of the year for the tabernacles for me. At the turn of the year.
It's Exodus. I wrote it. I had it written down from that video. I think Exodus 34 and 22.
How it reads?
Let me turn to it because I wrote LXX is saying middle of the year.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. That's the one.
That's what. Yeah, that's good. Says, but when Moses went in before Yahweh to speak with him, he took the veil off until he came out. And wait, 34 and 22. I'm reading the wrong thing. I'm reading 34 and 34. 34 and 22. And thou shalt observe the feast of weeks of the first fruits of wheat harvest and the feast of ingathering at year's end. That's KJV. And so that says year's end, and then I guess he was saying that the Septuagint says middle of the year, which I can just turn.
Yeah, read that one again before you go to the KJ. I mean, before you go to the Septuagint.
It says, and thou shalt observe the feast of weeks of the first fruits of wheat harvest and the feast of ingathering at the year's end.
So ingathering is referring to tabernacles, right? Now, you want to get it? You said you're going to get it in the KJV?
That was the KJV.
Okay.
I was going to see what it was in the Septuagint, which I'm guessing I wrote down middle of the year. So.
And while he get that, I'm getting this ready to show y'all why we take the time and the effort to learn our original tongue, because it does make a difference.
So it says in the Septuagint, and you shall observe the festival of weeks for me, the first fruits of the wheat harvest, and the beginning of gathering in the middle of the year. So
let me ask you this: what version of the Septuagint do you all have? Is that Brenton's?
The Lexham English Septuagint.
Lexham, thank you.
Yeah.
And I got the old Britain. I have
I don't know if you all ever heard of the Orthodox Study Bible, where there's another group that interpreted from the Septuagint.
I heard the Orthodox Bible, but I didn't hear about the Septuagint.
Yeah, theirs is a Septuagint, which I wound up picking up at an Ollie's. I wasn't even looking for the Septuagint. I was actually looking for a Bible that had had what we would call the Apocrypha stuff. I just wanted it all together in one. And then I found out, I started looking at my Bible. Once you brought up that point, I said, wait a minute, I think my Bible I got is a Septuagint. And it's showing it is a Septuagint, but their interpretation on 22 says exactly what this one says in my KJV.
You can read it?
Yeah, I'll read it. It says, you shall observe the feast of weeks, the first fruit of wheat harvest, and the feast of ingathering at the year's end.
Okay. And then the one I got says middle of the year.
Right.
Middle of the year. So I'm glad you had that version. And I'm going to show y'all why we barak the Most High for giving us back our language. And I'm going to show you how powerful the language is and how it helps us get the true understanding of the text. So give me 1 second. Now, you all know how to use the Blue Letter Bible to verify what I'm about to share. So I won't for the sake of time because it's getting late and so
yeah.
You can use the Blue Letter Bible to parse that verse out, and the confusion about this verse about when tabernacles is it the middle or is it the end at the end of the year or what comes from us not knowing our native tongue. So I'm gonna share my screen and show you the breakdown. So that phrase at the turn of the year's end, he said, if you go to, I think he turned to divine, and divine, because I guess he wasn't familiar with the Hebrew. So divine says the word for the turn of the year or the end of the year is, he pronounces like tekuf or tekafaf or something like that. And so if you parse that verse out, what verse is it again?
22.
Exodus
34 and 22.
Exodus 34 and 22, he says he's not calling it tabernacles here. He's calling it ingathering. But it is, I think Leviticus tells you the feast is twofold. It's ingatherings, is bringing in your fruits, and we're going to do booths. So Leviticus 23, the Most High tells you this feast is twofold. It's for ingatherings, the crops for the end of the season, and you're gonna celebrate the Feast of Booths. A lot of people miss that. We're doing two feasts at one time. That 7th month on the 15th is actually two commemorations going on. And he says the breakdown is the word turn of the year, and it's to kuf, or however you want to butcher it up in their Yiddish. But when we learn or return to our Hebrew, we'll see that phrase at the turn of the year is 3 characters. The top, I got these. I twisted those up. Give me 1 second. Me Russian, I twisted the letters up. Let me bring it back down. I twisted the letters up. 1 second.
You be knowing how to do that stuff, boy. I ain't got no idea.
This is just years trying to get ready to do the work for the nation, man. This is all about the nation, man. I don't care about nothing else but the nation. So boom.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie though. I was surprised when I turned that on, and I was like, "Oh, them boys going with it's like a little collab thing going on."
Can y'all still see the screen now?
Yeah.
So this is the phrase at the turn of the year, and he says the Septuagint even got the middle of the month. So is it at the end of the year, or is it the middle of the month? Like when do we do the feast? And this is when the value of our language, of the Most High's language that he gave our forefathers, come in handy. So that phrase that if you parse it out in the blue letter, it's going to be like to quaff or to kuf or something. And we don't have any F sounds in our language. They took our pa sound in the Greeks, and the Greeks turned our pa into the fa. I don't know if any of you guys been in school, the Greek sororities on that, like Phi Beta Sigma. So Phi Beta Sigma for us, the Phi is the pa. They turned our pa into a fa. So that's how they butchered our word and came up with this to quaff or something. But that phrase, the turn of the year, is ta qua pa, to quapa, to quapa. So what is the Most High saying? He's saying this feast is going to mark the qua. Who remember what the qua represents?
Rise, mark the rising of
the setting.
The rise or setting, right? What else can it represent?
Immersion.
What is this line doing?
parting or
Parting in what?
It's the middle.
It's half. So the actual Hebrew word is takwapa, takwapa. So he's saying your feast of ingathering is going to mark the half of your revolution. It's going to be the half of your revolution. Now watch this.
Wow.
Remember about that? There's no winter, spring, fall.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Seeing this, this makes me feel like it's worth it. I'm sitting in here writing all these notes down.
Yeah, because I'm not going to. It's recording, so it is saved to the cloud. But so
You got to post this though. I'm sorry to say, because there's somebody I'm talking to who's studying this now. So you got to post this, please.
No, I was saying that like taking those notes on these different positions so that I can ask the right questions so that you can bring out this revelation like you bringing out right now. Because that stuff like that, like how I told you about dominion earlier, and then this word right here, like seeing it with our letters, like it does definitely make it so much clearer, because this was the last little series I was going to study before I was just going to focus on, getting down what I believe. But I had to see that position last, so I'm going to move on to something else. But yeah, this is definitely great.
So he says, and give me that script again. Exodus
34 and 22.
Exodus 34 and 22. The Most High says, at the turn of your year, you're going to have ingathering. And then when we get to Leviticus 23 and 38 through like 40 something, he says you're going to celebrate not only tabernacles, but also ingathering. It's going to be no tabernacles and it's going to be ingathering. And that phrase, the turn of the year, for us in our native tongue is Tequapa. So the Feast of Tabernacles marks qua, the half of our revolution. Now watch this. That thing about 4 seasons, the 4 seasons is pagan to us. We got 2 seasons. The Most High says, I give you cold and hot, or winter and summer. You won't find spring, fall, or autumn listed in none of our scrolls. So when he gives us 2 seasons, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months of heat, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm missing a number. Oh, I'm missing 11. Oh, I gotta take this back and put the 11 there. Man, I'm doing this on the fly, y'all. Y'all work with me now.
Hey, we working, man. It's all good.
I'm doing this on the fly. And I don't do this for debate. I do this for understanding purposes. Y'all bless them. They're doing the best they can with their understanding. So, all right, now we got it. So the Most High says, this Feast of Ingatherings, also known as Tabernacles, is going to be at the turn of the year. And the confusion is, well, one text is saying the year's end, one text is saying in the middle of the year. And then we got some other mess. Rosh Hashanah is the 7th month. But when we learn our natural tongue, Tequapa, this feast is going to mark qua, the half of your pa is in this context is representing our revolution or our year. So the 7th month is the half of our year, because I give you 2 seasons, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 of heat, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 of cold. So the 7-month feast is starting the winter. That's why we have tabernacles on the 15th before it gets too cold. And those who keep tabernacles in October, you see they be freezing out there, because October is like the 2nd month. We're getting into the heart of our winter. But if we move it back to the 7th month, which usually fall around September, it's kind of more bearable to be outside in tents in September, the 7th month, because the winter is just starting. So that's
yep. Because yep.
We're going this week. We're about to go into our 1st month, and we're about to celebrate Pesach on the pagan. We don't really care about the pagan count. We know it's corrupt, but this year it just happened to be at the end of February. But like I showed y'all those pictures, that dandelion, and this today was like 50 something degrees. Y'all showing us signs. I'm bringing you y'all summer month. So we got 6 months of heat of summer, and then ingathering, or the Feast of Booths, is in the middle of the year, Tequapa. It marks the half of your revolutions, and that's the 7-month feast. So had that brother had the understanding of what that word really meant in the Hebrew, that text wouldn't have confused him. And that's why we Barak Yah Bahasham Yahweh Shai for this understanding, because it makes a difference when we trying to get to these high level topics. Our language makes the difference. It makes the difference. So the Feast of Tabernacles is in the middle of the year. We're about to go into the 6 months of winter. All praises to the Most High Yah.
So which one? So yeah. So then, so once again, the Septuagint is more accurate than.
Once again, our righteous elders did a great job, and the Septuagint is more close to the truth than the KJV Masoretic. I should start calling it the muddy text. That's what it is. The Masoretic text is a muddy text. They were non-messianics. they were trying to throw everybody off. They was mad at the message. They were mad at the Nazarites because they hold to Messiah, and then they were mad at the true Christians, the pagan Romans, because they was the true. When I say true Christians, I mean the pagan Romans, because now the pagan Romans could read and tell them that y'all ain't doing what's in your own book. So these Masoretic priests, aka Talmudists, they were trying to throw everybody off the trail. They were mad at our Nazarite elders, and they were mad at the pagan Romans who were coming adopting our faith, known as what became known as Christianity. So these Talmudic priests, they were trying to throw everybody off with their translations. And that's why I'm advocating get the Septuagint and seek the truth in the Septuagint as much as you can. So Tequapa is for tabernacles. Tabernacles is in the middle of the year. It is in the 7th month, and that's when we start our winter, from the 7th month to the 12th month. So coming this Friday or Saturday, we're going into the month of Abyab, and our summer is starting. And you seen, I showed you that pick the day over in Jerusalem. It was 72 degrees already. So that's how we do our calendar. And we'll do I have the whole breakdown slideshow ready for second Pesach, going over all these points, trying to make it concise as possible. But y'all see how much effort it takes, because there's so many doctrines out there, and it's sounding logical, but you're not giving enough references, scripture or historical, showing me where our elders, our righteous elders, ever kept 13 months, they ever went by the full moon. You have to show me concrete references that righteous Israelites did this. And his presentation, or none I've seen so far, can do that. So that's why we only keep 12 months. We don't care where it falls in the Gregorian calendar. They like, oh, it's going to drift out of the seasons. Pesach is in summer. Tabernacles is in winter. Those are the 2 seasons we got. This spring fall thing is all pagan. We don't care about the Roman calendar, aka the Babylonian calendar, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, definitely make more sense than what I've seen everybody else present, and just reading it for myself. And that's why I definitely enjoy like doing that, because it's bringing out different points, like I said. And I think it helps you. I think it helps you make an even better presentation to teach all of us to put it together. And of course, we know it's the Most High that's working. But you know, the Most High works through men and work through his people. So I think that, like I said, just me just going through and seeing what their points are, I can bring it to our points, and then we can kind of judge it from there and put all the precepts and stuff together, or things that we might have missed or this person might have missed. Yeah.
All praise be to I'm not saying like, praise Yah that brothers are trying to come back to the landmarks. It's just, we just can't. People sounding intelligent, people sounding logical, they start using all these kind of Greek ology words, and people who are unlearned just come in are fascinated. Oh wow, yeah, man, wow, yeah, that go ahead, bring it out. It's like no, you got to take your time and vet this stuff, and there has to be a concrete method, and that's why y'all dropped that plumb line in my spirit. We got to have 2 or more witnesses. Did Moses say this? Was the prophets practicing this? When Hamashiach walked, did he practice it? Did he say it? Or can we find it inside the scrolls? Like the 13th month, we can't find that inside the scrolls. So it's not to cut people. It's not to belittle anybody. Iron sharpens iron. So it just should improve. People write books. Even with us, just because you got a good meal last Saturday, don't come relax. This Saturday, don't wash your hands. Like, no, every week we got to make sure Yah is moving, and it's not a man-made doctrine. It can't be a man-made doctrine. That's what got us over here in the first place. We all got to return to our original landmarks and seek Yah and make sure we're doing what the ancestors was doing before we got kicked out the land. So that's all I got, family. It's going. Oh, it's almost 10 o'clock. I can't stay up like you young kids. I look now. I'm old now.
Mhm.
Messing
Yeah,
up,
man. Like I said, we'll and you can on that playlist, you can just skip the next two videos because they just talk about the phases, and we pretty much good on that. And then the other one is a debate, and it's I think it'll be good for you, especially putting the presentation you putting together, because they talk about the 13 months, and then Ron's side explains a little more of what why he was thinking the way he thinks, and then the last video is where he shows like his scriptures, and it's like I guess because he did a 7-hour thing, that which I didn't watch it, but the last video is like an hour of him just getting straight to the point with the scriptures and why he came up with the way he did. So I think it'll help.
You said the fourth one?
Yeah, you could just so it's the one you saw already. Then it's 2 joints about the moon phases. Skip those. And then the fourth one is a debate. And then the last one, he'll break his points down again. So I think it'll be good, and then we could just talk about it at the Shabbat.
Yeah, I'll probably watch tomorrow at work because again, I'm never nothing we ever present is ever a closed topic for me because I don't want to be right. I don't want to indoctrinate. I want to be in line with Yah. So that's why I continue to, if you or anybody send me some information about any topic, I take a look at it because if I missed something they read I didn't read, I'm going to come back and correct it because I'm all about the nation. I'm not about growing no channel. I don't care about no congregation. I just want us to be in line with Yah and ready to get out of here. And the most dangerous thing about and I say this and let it alone till we present it, the most dangerous thing about that 13th month practice is it comes from Babylon.
Oh man, I got that right here.
Yeah, that's the most dangerous thing about it. The whole rhythm of it, and I could go on the rest of the night because their premise is if the barley's not right. But if it's solely based on barley, why is your rhythm following the Babylonian math? Like I don't get that. So you're saying it's just you're gonna add a 13th month is the barley's not right, but you continue the rhythm right in sync with the Babylonian math. Now they give credit to this Greek astronomer named Meton. He's a plagiarist. He got the math from Babylonian astrologers, and I got documents to show that. So when you follow that 19 year cycle of intercalation, you're following the Babylonian astrologers. So it's like the Ak brought out during the set apart conference. I love the metaphor he used. He said, you know how you go into the African store to buy some garments, and it's like you come out smelling like them, and your garments smell like them. So when you practice these things of the pagans, you smell like the pagans to Yah. So all the assemblies, I know they're doing it out of ignorance, but you smell like a Babylonian to Yah. Nowhere did he tell us to add a 13th month if the body's not right or if the vernal equinox. None of these things are found in our culture. So that's why I spend the time, because I don't want our families being led astray, following the Canaanites and all these other pagan nations who has got us in trouble. So that's why I don't want people to think I'm just trying to come down on no assembly or whoever practiced this. I got love for my people, my nation, and practicing Babylonian astrology, it stinks to Yah. That's the most dangerous part of this thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's all about just seeking the truth, and that's why I definitely appreciate your openness. And I definitely enjoyed watching his stuff because you know how Ron is. I mean, it's so, whether it's right, whether it's incorrect, we know he's just trying, just like us, we just learning, but he presented so elegant.
Yeah.
So
well, I appreciate every brother who put the scholarship in, whether I agree with their position or not. Some brothers just don't put no scholarship in and just keep giving commentary like that. I'm not going to mention the brother's name because I don't know him at all. I can't remember his name, but he was making suppositions with no scholarship. Like I said, if I tell you 2 + 2 is 4 and I give you the math behind it, and you just say, nah, I don't believe that. Like, and then you start going on a channel saying, hey, 2 + 2 ain't 4. Like, you leading people down the wrong path, and you ain't giving them nothing to stand on. Just you're being passionate and you're being radical that 2 + 2 ain't 4. And because you sound convincing to the unlearned, you got people going down the path saying 2 + 2 ain't 4, but you ain't getting no scholarship. At least take the time to get some scholarship, even if you're going to be wrong. Put some scholarship in what you're saying. Show me some precepts. Show me some research, and then we can have something to build on. Say, okay, is this research valid? Is this author a righteous author? But that one brother was just making suppositions, and you just churching me. You just doing the same thing the pastor's doing. You ain't giving me nothing to stand on, no scriptures, no reference books, no nothing. You just telling me, you just churching me. Don't church me. Do not church me. So that's all I got. Moray, did you have anything?
My fault. I'm kind of like half at work. I work at a boarding home, so I was helping some other stuff. I want you to make sure you pass out that plumb line again. I think that's a great way for men to be able to measure what they're studying and analyzing in scripture, particularly to the effect of understanding what the Most High says. Excuse me, I'm losing a little bit of train of thought, but I'm going to bring it back. Because of when Paul says something, if you don't have another witness to verify how he's saying it, you've got to recognize he's not saying what we may think he's saying, is what I'll say there with Shaul. And so like that, you brought up something that brings a great argument of, not argument, but a great point of reference of how the Bereans, I think you coined the term Berean legwork, how they use the Berean legwork in order to officially figure out Paul. And they would witness, and anything about Christ he would verify. But in these letters that he's writing these letters to, he's answering specific questions. So we can't get into the minutia of saying that the Torah is going to validate what he says of an understanding for a group of people. He's just going to have an explanation for that group and not necessarily have the second witness to say what we think it's saying about, like, ignoring the commands, or we're no longer submitting to these commandments and things of the nature. That's all. But I just want to, I just got to make sure you get that out there for us.
Yeah,
and
I'll probably send it out right after we end this broadcast. I don't know how soon I can get this cleaned up and published, because we're getting ready to, we got to finish Shabbat, and then we get ready to go into Pesach. But yeah. I'll publish this eventually. Really, I may just save it to second Pesach for us is going to be like March. I'm gonna just do a whole. It's probably going to take like 2.5 hours to go over, because I'm gonna hit every point just to try to be thorough. Because as some lessons, as more new people come in, you got to do them once a year, and the calendar is just something that we got to keep going over. And some brothers make it a hindrance where we can't fellowship. And I just matured where, if you keep 13 months, I just know you're doing it out of ignorance. I know you're not doing it to spite Yah. So to me, it's not a deal breaker where I can't deal with you if you're doing 13 months. It's just that, if we get to the truth of the matter, if we be mature about it, can we find it in the righteous writings of our elders? Is it something that Yah is going to accept? Is it in our past? Is it in the present? Is it in the future? So I definitely, want to be thorough. So if any information pop up, send it to me. And like Shamaria said, it makes us all better students and teachers. Again, we don't do this for chop sessions and to be to be big shots know-it-all. We do it to be thorough, trying to please Yah the best we can and get ready to get up out of here. So
right. We're trying to enter his kingdom, so we're bringing his kingdom into an existence, and it starts in us, is what he said. The kingdom is in you, so it has to start there first, is what Mashiach says. Is there any way that playlist you all are talking about, you all wouldn't mind posting it in the chat so I could take a look at it also?
I can send it to you.
Yes,
I'd rather send it privately.
That's cool. Yeah, send it directly to me, please. I appreciate
You can put it on the Moray's on Telegram with us.
Yeah, I was saying I would rather just send it to them individually on Telegram.
Okay,
I don't like people who maybe they're not really as diligent studying just to pop up and start watching it, get confused. That's why I send certain things I send privately. But like Moray, I'm sure he can look at it and do the same things that we're doing, you know. So I'll send it to him. And I put the plumb line in the Telegram already now. So I did. And
thank you for that.
Yeah, I'm gonna use that for our men up here in Winston, not in Winston. I'm thinking I'm in Winston, in Philly, up here in Philly, because again, there's so many individuals with so many voices, and you know all the letter groups, the ISUPKs and all of them that are influencing our brothers in a less than flattering way. The only thing I can agree with is that they agree that we're Hebrews, but then how they actually do halakha in terms of the law itself is something that we need to like vet through and be able to prepare men who are going to encounter them to say, not so much just reject them because of the fact of our understanding, but we are laying it down in a way that the scriptures say previously our ancestors, our ancients, as you would say, vintagely used the scriptures. And I think I'm grateful that you sent that, because I'm going to make certain we use that. We're going to basically borrow those ideas in order to help sculpt the way the Hebrew man thinks up here. So
I think we got freedom. If I'm doing something that you can't vet or tell me is wrong based on that plumb line, then I have a freedom to do it. And if if it's a sin in ignorance, I don't gotta be walking on eggshells because I don't agree with you. We got sacrifices for sins of ignorance. Right. But just because you're convicted, like we can go this all night, but you know, you can't shape up your beard. Right. You can't shave your head. All this stuff is man-made doctrines. Right.
Women can't wear pants. Right. Right.
Show me the precepts for this. You can't show me and what really gets my goat, they so cocky and arrogant against the Christians. Like, you can't show me the law is done in scripture. You can't show me this in scripture. But then you turn around and push doctrines that you can't find in scripture. That's a hypocrite.
You do the same thing. Yeah, absolutely. Same thing, and we're looking for performatives rather than actually hoping that the heart is cultivated to the truth so that we can manifest the kingdom. Like, what good is it for me to have my fringe correct if my heart isn't to my brother who's lacking in resources and funding? And that's what First John's talking about. He's like, yo, the actual application of this love manifests itself in you sharing your resources if you have them, and if you don't, you figuring out ways to work to help one another. But it isn't.
Now you're gonna run off somewhere else.
Yeah, my fault, man.
You got brothers charging for resources, and
that's the crazy part. And again, his kingdom is not entering. We still continue to maintain a culture that we said we're trying to escape by being in this culture. Well, obviously, we have not learned the true idea of the love of mammon, or serving Yah and mammon. And I'm not going to talk much longer. I'm gonna stop. But I just, because I know you got to go to bed. I know you got to go to bed. Look, I know us old men got to go to bed soon.
I have a cup of coffee in the morning.
Hallelujah, hallelujah. But like when Paul mentions the fact that when he talks about what's that verse when he says about money? For the love of money is the root of all evil.
Yeah.
When you look at that in the Greek, that's not like an adjective. You would think that's describing a verb or describing an adjective. It's actually a noun. It's a personification of an actual idea, which means it's the deity, similar to what the Messiah was talking about when he says you can't serve Yah and Mammon, because Mammon is a deity also. So Paul was writing that as, yo, this is a deity that you are actually having this love affair with, which is causing you to be abusive to your brother. And this is what Egypt and Babylon and everyone else carries as the idea of their gods.
That
But I'm
is
gonna
so
stop there.
true. Just what the way you said that, I see it.
Yeah.
I see the manifestation on people. I'll say I was one of those people. Honestly, I would say, because Babylon being over here, we just chasing, how can I get this money? How can I get this financial freedom and get this and get that? And it's nothing wrong with, of course, taking care of yourself, but it'll cause you to go to the extreme, where
right.
you're putting
That's right.
that first before you're putting the Most High first. So I definitely agree. Like, you definitely said something right there about how it's a deity.
Hallelujah.
I only had one point before I shut up for the day, because y'all know I could definitely go.
No, go ahead, fella. Look, man, I'm just
no,
teasing.
my point was just about back to like the calendar stuff. It just seems like, so because Enoch says if you go, or Jubilees 354, if you follow the moon, you're gonna be 10 days or 11 days short, right? 10 days short. Then those people who say 13 months or whatever, they assume and say, well, it says after 3 years, you're going to be 30 days behind. So that means I follow this calendar for 3 years, and then I add a 13th month so that everything can be back in line and in order. And first of all, that's what they did in Babylon. And then for two, second of all, it's like, that wasn't what he was saying. He was explaining to you what would happen if you didn't follow the calendar correctly. He never said add an extra month, because he continuously. So that's just what I'm seeing. The whole premise is, what I'm seeing is that if something's missing or something is not said to wait, people are adding things that's not there, is basically what I'm trying to say.
They're exegeting stuff. So this and so this must mean this. So he said X, so it must mean Y. And that's where you get exegesis from. And that's why I tell you, these brothers are trying to sound so intelligent, but you're applying pagan terms to a holy culture. Like, there's two words that they love to throw out, especially the seminary trained preachers. So, but some of the Israelite teachers are using it too. So exegete, eisegete, and then they'll say the hermeneutics. If you look up, if you look up Hermes, Hermes, Hermes is a Canaanite deity. He's black with dreads. So hermeneutics comes from Hermes. So if you had a speech that you was about to give, a campaign speech, if you was about to write your boo a letter, you would sacrifice to Hermes, because he's the god of smooth and elegant speech. So when you talk about hermeneutics and applying hermeneutics to a holy text like our scrolls, you just adulterated the Most High's text. So we don't apply hermeneutics. We don't exegete, eisegete. We put precept upon precept like our elders do. And that's why I like that plumb line, because that plumb line holds everybody to the same standard. Me and everybody else, you have to use that plumb line. Because if you can't apply the plumb line to what you just supposed, you're doing the same thing the Christians are doing. You're supposing the law is done away with. You're supposing that I got to add a 13 month to my calendar. You're supposing that this X, Y, and Z. And it's like you got people getting confused. But again, we got sacrifices for sins of ignorance. But if you got better text, if you got better translations, why not let's search it out and have a thorough investigation if it's available. If that's the best you got where you at, do the best you can do. But I'm just the type of person, I want to get to the root. I want to get to how Joshua had us before we got, twisted up in all kind of paganism. So
Hallelujah. Hey, you know that Hermes also was a Greek god, which is a messenger god.
Yeah, I don't know. They all pretty much, as they came to the east, the Greeks and the Romans, they pretty much would take the Egyptian gods and the Persian gods and just give them different names. Like, Ishtar is Ishtar in one land, but she's Astarte in another land. in another land, she's what, Diana? I think the Romans called her Diana.
Diana. Yep.
So that's, but when I hear them say hermeneutics and they sounded so eloquent to themselves, like you're applying a pagan deity to the Most High's holy text, and it's like I just shake my head, I just like, wow. But
right.
again, to unlearn, these brothers are like, I went off on a rant today on Facebook. Like, I see these brothers clout chasing, always sharing their little Cash App and PayPal links, but you're broadcasting from your couch. Every time you go live, you're inside your living room. So why you got your Cash App going across your screen? Why are people giving you super chat and all you doing is entertaining folks? Like I'm to the point, like I'm so ready to call names, but that's the old me. I'm trying to really be a righteous man. But when I see you just leading our nation astray, I take offense to that. I don't care who you are. You charging XYZ to teach people Hebrew, and like the audacity of you. Like, really? Like, to me, you worse than a coon, because you done got some truth and you're gonna charge people for it. Like, so that's why I need calm brothers like you more ready, because I'll call names and tell you where you can meet me at. And it's like, I don't want to be a part of that. But, like, how wicked are you? We're over here in Babylon doing the best we can, and you're going to charge people for it? That's why I've been in my own lane. I don't have these grandeur come meet us. No. If y'all ain't lead you my way, if you ain't see me, brother saw my friends is on a Walmart. He a Muslim, and we had a conversation. I want everything organic. If y'all didn't cause our paths to meet, I'm not trying to invite a bunch of strangers, have a bunch of radicals come around, because I don't want to put my hands on people, because that's where I don't play with this. I don't play with y'all's children. So, but I know it ain't my nation. I gotta let y'all use these people. I see the wickedness, man, and it burns me up. It burns me up, man. It burns me up. But,
I just wanted to say real quick, Moray, and for everybody, just praise y'all for all of y'all, because the Ruach has a way with dealing with me whenever I pray, whenever I really say loud on things that I might be looking into throughout the week. It'll be through the confirmation of, like I was saying the other day, whether it be nature, whether it be a man, whether it be whatever. And today I was telling y'all before, I was just going over the Torah, the law again. And I just so happened read Leviticus chapter 18, 3-5. And I'll read it for y'all. Y'all don't have to go there.
Hold on. I want to get there with you.
Okay.
You say what? Leviticus 3?
Leviticus 18, verse 3. 18, verse 3.
Shema.
And everything y'all been talking about, I just been sitting here listening, because y'all been ministering to me and confirming what I've really just been looking into. It says, after the doings of the land of Mitzrayim, wherein ye dwelt, ye shall not do. And after the doings of the land of Canaan, whither I bring you, shall ye not do. Neither shall ye walk in their ordinances. You shall do my judgments and keep my ordinances to walk therein. I am Yahweh your Elohim. Therefore ye shall keep my statutes and my judgments, which if a man do, he shall live in them. That goes back to Ibar, continuing in the house of the chief. I am Yahweh. So everything y'all been saying, just all praise to the Most High for every single one of y'all, because this is just powerful what y'all been doing.
We gon' get through it. We gon' get through it, yeah. Most High soon come. We gon' get through it. You make war with the nations. We gon' get Say on top of down Babylon, we gone, through it. So when children get the kingdom. So when children get the kingdom. Children of Israel, it's time to pray. The scattered people, trouble in every way. Every nation bring hate upon your head. You so-called Negroes, blacks, Afro-Americans. Family is broken, love is gone away. The men in their prison, others being enslaved. Can't find a job, and the money's scarce. On top of that, we abort our babies. Tired of racism, hunted by police. Evidence on tape, and it got released. Jury final fall, let police go free. Ain't no real justice, ain't no real peace. We don't know who we are, so them take advantage. We gotta know who we are, and them done take notice. Cause some save his people, but we must endure this. Rise up Israel, cause help is on the way. Most high soon come, we come through it. You make war with the nations, we gone through it. Say on top of down Babylon, we gone through it. So when children get the kingdom. So when children get the kingdom. Children of Israel, God will hear your cry. Want you to know you're the apple of his eye. May not seem so, but scripture doesn't lie. There's an explanation, there's a reason why. Our fathers did them wrong, so now we pay the price. Many years ago, yes, Moses prophesied. Said we must suffer, many gonna die. Captivity and slavery and famines and pestilence, so much disease. But morning soon comes, so stay on your knees. No, you're not forsaken. He knows exactly where to find his children. And say we have to make our way back to him. Pray we're worthy to escape his indignation. He's coming and he's bringing his sword with him. Rise up Israel, your trouble's almost done. One. Most high soon come, he come